Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Let's put these two titans up against each other. No pun intended. This is the Nokia Lumia 830 versus the iPhone 6. Let's get into it. So as always, welcome back to another video. The phone to beat to a lot of people, not everybody, is the iPhone 6. The iPhone 6 obviously is one of the best phones on the market. There's no denying that. So we have to give props where props are due. But as you remember, I've also put, this is kind of like a rematch, I guess you want to say. Last year, I did the Nokia Lumia 521 against the iPhone 5S. And obviously I preferred the Lumia. I gave the Lumia the go as the better device to purchase for a lot of reasons. So here we are with the bigger brothers of those devices, so to speak, the 830 and the iPhone 6. So let's get into this. First, I'll do the techie stuff, and then I'll get into the review. So the Lumia 830 is, let's go to dimensions first. Well, let's do weight. Okay, so it's 150 grams, and this iPhone 6 is 129. And because the iPhone 6 is aluminum or metal, it feels just as heavy. It feels about the same. So that's kind of how it's going to be. Let me adjust this real quick. Yeah, that looks good. So even though the Lumia weighs 150 grams and this weighs 129, it still feels about the same. And I think it's just because this is all aluminum and this has some plastic parts to it. So, but it does have a metal frame, but they feel about the same. This is 6.9 millimeters in thickness, and this is 8.5, and you can definitely tell the difference there. This has a 2200 milliamp battery, and this has a 1810 milliamp battery. This has a non-removable battery, and this one has a removable battery. Nokia removable, iPhone 6 obviously non-removable. So display-wise, this is a 5-inch display. And this is a 4.7-inch display. So this comes in at 750 by 1334, and this comes in at 720 by 1280. And so that's a really high pixel density for both. This one I believe is 294, and this one is 326, I believe, something like that. This runs Windows, this runs iOS. This has the Apple A8 in here, and this has a Qualcomm Snapdragon in this one. 16 gigs or 128 gigs on this one. It comes in 16, 64, and 128. This is 128. And this one comes in 16, but it has expandable storage up to 128. So you can put a 64 gig card in here, an 8, 4, a 16, a 32, or 128 gig can go into this one. So that's a huge plus. Expandable memory, removable battery. They both have 1 gig of RAM, and they both use a nano SIM. So now this is the battle of the basics here. This isn't to get into the different features of all the features of each phone, because these are completely different operating systems, but there are some hardware differences in both of these, and I'll get into those when I get to the body. But other than that, let's get past these specs and get down to what you're really here for. So one last thing, this has a 10 megapixel and this has a 8 megapixel. They both shoot in 1080p. So let's get to it. The first thing you see when you look at these two beautiful devices is the screen. So the iPhone 6 has been touted as one of the best screens ever, and it's just Retina HD. But there are plenty of phones out there that have better displays than the iPhone 6. And the Nokia Lumia is no exception. They both have good pixel density, but how do the screens come up? Well, the iPhone is just a bunch of icons on the display and on their software. And the Windows Phone has a more elegant looking software, so the screen appears to be, it looks a little bit more vibrant. But that's all subjective. But really, the 4.7 versus the 5-inch display, obviously, if you're watching movies, games, or something like that, you're going to go ahead and probably want a larger display. And even though it's not that much difference, it's 4.7 and 5, the Lumia is a little wider, so you get a lot more screen there. You can see for yourself there. So as far as the screen goes, definitely give the edge to the Lumia 830. Now let's get into body. The body on here. This is where a lot of people often say the iPhone is the top dog. So since the Lumia is the competitor, let's take a look at it first. It has a metal body just like the iPhone 6, aluminium, metal, whatever you want to call it. It has a metal frame in here, and it is gorgeous. The body on this thing is just really sexy. It's squared off, so it is flat and the corners are sharp. But for a person that has big hands or medium-sized hands, this probably won't be an issue for you. The phone feels very sturdy. It's got the build quality. It's just really nice, and having a dedicated camera key is also really nice. But just the build quality of this device appears really sturdy. Now the iPhone, on the other hand, is it just kind of flows in your hand, I guess I want to say. It's very smooth, rounded corners. It's just kind of sits in your hand very well. And since the corners are round, you won't have anything digging into your palm when you're holding it. So that's a huge plus. So while I like the Nokia Lumia 830's body, I like the way the iPhone 6 feels in the hand. So overall, I'm going to call this one a tie, because I do like the way, I like the look and the feel of the 830, but I love the way the iPhone feels in your hand. These rounded corners, they actually do play a part. It works well. So moving on to sound quality. So both of these have speakers. One for the iPhone comes out of the bottom, and the one on the Lumia comes out of the back. So you would think, obviously, that the Lumia is going to be a better fit, but let's go in and give you a demo here, a live demo. And we're going to go to YouTube on both, and we're going to play the same video. And I'm going to load up my channel on both. And I'm going to play the same video here. Let's see here. So let's just play crank the volume up after I get this going here. So everybody likes a good unboxing, and this unboxing. Okay, so you can see there how loud the video plays and the sound quality is on the iPhone 6. Let's get over here to the Lumia and let's crank the volume up. So everybody likes a good unboxing, and this unboxing is sponsored. So as you can see there, both of these to me kind of sound equal. The iPhone definitely, the speaker may come out of the bottom, but the Lumia has, the way they put this speaker together, it is really loud, and it's also facing down, but there's a little bit of a curve there which allows the sound to kind of flow out of the bottom. So it's not actually touching flat on there, it actually curves a little bit. So with this one, again, I like how both of them sound, and I think they both sound really loud and clear. So I gotta give that one a tie. Once again, I'm gonna call that one a tie because they're both really, really loud. And but the only difference I will say is that when you're cuffing the iPhone, you can easily cover it up for some reason a lot easier. But with the Lumia, if I do this, it gets even louder. So and these are all subjective. So you know, you got to do your own analysis. Go ahead and buy both phones, and then you can decide which one you think is louder. Because I know that some people's going to say, "Oh, he's biased." That's just not the case. So sound, once again, I'm going to call that a tie. So on the front cameras are cool and everything, but people, you know, the front cameras don't mean a lot to me, I guess I'll say. It's good to have a front camera, that's nice, but I'm not really in it for the front camera. The rear cameras is what we would look at. Now the Lumia 810 has a 10 megapixel camera with Carl Zeiss, and I gotta tell you, I've taken pictures with both of these, the same picture. And you know, the iPhone is known for having a fantastic camera, but when pitted against this phone right here, the Lumia 830 just kind of destroys the iPhone 6's camera. Having so many features and functions in your camera is a huge plus, and the processing of the pictures on the Lumia 830 are just phenomenal. I've taken the same photo with these right side by side, and the Lumia just looks so much better. It is amazing how much better this camera performs. And when you look at the software for both, the iPhone, the software it's nice. It's very minimal. It's let me switch this around here. It's very minimal, and you get the basics. You know, it's got photo, video, slow motion, time lapse, square, and panorama. But when you get into the Lumia, you have so many more controls on here. And you know, I've already said that the Lumia was a great camera, and I stand behind that. When I put these next to each other with the cameras, the Lumia 830 is just mind-boggling how nice it is. And if you argue that, only thing I can say is if you don't have both, if you just went into a store and checked out both for a moment, that doesn't count. You have to actually own the product, take it home, use it for a week or two or more, just use it, and you will agree that the Lumia 830 has a much better camera. So, cameras, go to the 830. I tested both of these for web browsing. Obviously, I use an iPhone every day. I have several. So I tested these with web browsing, and the WebKit on the iPhone obviously is really nice. The Windows Phone, the problem that I ran into with the Windows Phone is that some websites will render perfectly, but I found sometimes I might have to go to desktop mode. I just have to do a little tinkering just to be able to comment on Google Plus or just things like that. It's just little small things that make Internet Explorer not a good browser. It's very fast, very fluid, but I don't like having to switch browsers or switch phones just to do something simple, or having to tinker with my browser just to get it to do something. So web browsing on both of these is fast. I'm not going to do a demo or anything, but web browsing on both of these are fast, very fluid, but the iPhone gets the edge because I don't really have to do anything to do the same things that I'm doing on the Windows Phone. So web browsing, they're both good, but the iPhone has one up. Web browsing is pretty snappy and pretty smooth, and I don't have to do anything to get it to work the way I want it to work. So that's that. So next thing I want to talk about is call quality, because a lot of people have smartphones and they're not using them for phone calls. They're using them for web browsing and media and all these other things, and it's just not being used as a phone very often. I have low minutes usage on my phones, but I have thousands of text messages and lots of internet data used. So that's kind of where it is. But call quality on both of these, I have to say, I haven't experienced an HD call on this phone yet, but I have experienced an HD call on the iPhone 6, and it is phenomenal. HD calling is just mind-boggling. It sounds like the person is in your ear canal. It's crazy how nice the sound is. Now, while I have never experienced HD calling on this one, that doesn't mean that the sound quality or the quality is bad. They're both great. I've just experienced HD calling on here already. So yeah, but both of this is kind of a tie because it's all subjective depending on what carrier you have. But both of these come in about the same, so there's no winner there. So the next thing is features. So there's some things that the iPhone has that the Lumia doesn't, and the Lumia has that the iPhone doesn't. But I guess I would tackle the features thing with the iPhone. I've got the Touch ID to unlock it, and I get into the phone fast. With the Lumia, I can swipe up and put in my passcode, or just swipe up. If you don't have a passcode on here, you can swipe up, but it does take an extra step to get into the Lumia. But that's, you know, and I talk about that because when we pick our phones up, what do? We unlock it. And if you don't have a password, you either swipe or something like that. So if I didn't have a password on the iPhone, I would just, same thing, I would swipe or whatever to get it open, or the power button, and same thing with the Lumia. but seeing as though the password, you can use Touch ID on the iPhone, it is a beautiful feature. I don't think anyone can deny that. The Touch ID feature is best implemented on the iPhone of all the Touch ID type of deals or finger scanners that I've experienced to get into a device. Apple has done it the best, and there's just no denying that. Now, there are other devices out there that probably do it better, but in my personal experience, I haven't experienced them yet. So, give the edge to the iPhone. Now, when it comes to, obviously, a huge thing where people don't buy Windows Phone is because of the App Store. Well, the iPhone, the App Store on the iPhone, it has hundreds and thousands of apps. I think Windows Phone just passed 300,000 or something like that last year. So obviously there's more applications on the iPhone, but the essentials are on both. This may have a ton more applications, but the essentials to run your smartphone and the things you need are on this phone. They're in the App Store. So this may only have 300,000+ applications, but at the same time, I can use this every day and still get the same features and applications that I need on this phone. The basics. This is a battle of the basics. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those things. But at least you can run Google Plus on here. They don't have a Google Plus app for this. I have to use the web browser. But nonetheless, pretty much all the applications that I need on both are on both. I think the only one missing is Google Plus. And that's not a bad thing. So as far as the applications go, I'll go ahead and give the edge to the iPhone because it does have all the applications available. But at the same time, again, the essentials are on both. The essentials are on both. Because everybody who's using Windows doesn't need Google Plus, but I need Google Plus because I run a lot of stuff on there and I have Android phones and stuff that I can run to if I need to. Nonetheless, I will give the edge to the iPhone. So another thing that I wanted to talk about was battery. So here's where a lot of phones don't do well. But to me, this gets down to that argument of how your operating system is optimized. We all know that I posted pictures of my iPhone with 3 days of battery and about 7 hours of screen on time. And I'm happy to report that the Nokia Lumia is exactly the same. But the advantage is I can take this back off and switch the battery out. You can't do that with an iPhone. The Lumia 830 has fantastic battery life. I have never, I have, but in a Windows phone, I don't have any that I think have gone 3 days. This one has gone 3 days, and it is phenomenal. Battery life, about 3 days. Standby on this is almost as good as the iPhone, because if you go to sleep with 100% on the iPhone, you're going to wake up with 100%. On the Lumia, it drains about 1 to 2%. That's still good because it has live tiles, and the iPhone kind of pauses everything when it's not in active, and it's not active. So, but the Lumia does very well for it to have things still going. And you can also restrict all background access on the Lumia, but I like to keep them running because what's the purpose of having your smartphone if you can't get your notifications? So, and keep everything live, which I love the live tiles. So battery life on the Lumia is right on par with the iPhone 6. Remember, this is all subjective, so I'm going to call that one a tie. So, and I'm not really keeping track of this winner loser thing, but I will give a recommendation at the end, as I always do. So as far as preference goes, you either like the iPhone or iOS, or you like Windows Phone, or you like BlackBerry, or you like Android. You've gotten yourself locked in on something, and you've made a choice. Now, the great thing about me is I get to enjoy them all. I like all of them. I don't lock myself down to just one operating system. And that's a huge plus when you're dealing with the tech world. You got to be versatile. Checking to see how many minutes I'm up here. Oh, I got to cut this off. So, but yeah, the operating system on the iPhone has been proven to be extremely fluid. Everybody knows this. But the competitor, this operating system is very fluid, and you can see how fluid it is. You can see it. You can see how fluid this device is. There's not a lot of devices that look as beautiful as this overlay. I like the iPhone. I like, the quick access to all the icons, but sometimes I want something beautiful to look at. And the device to go to is a Windows phone if you want beauty. Just look at this device. Look at the color options that you can do. They give you all these different colors. You can do orange, green, white, black, whatever. Having the options there and being able to choose is one of the best things possible. This has antenna lines, but this has antenna lines too, but they're very visible. I hate the look of Apple's antenna lines. I've always said that. I don't like them. So therefore, a case stays on this phone. But if it was the gray one, I can keep this one open because this doesn't look too bad. It's real subtle. And remember, this is all subjective, so you have your own opinion, and please leave it. But I still say that Windows Phone is one of the most beautiful operating systems ever made, and it is super fluid and fast. So, final thoughts here. Which one of these would I recommend? Well, I recommend them both. But the difference here, let's get into the difference. The difference is, let me get a calculator here, because I want to do this right. And I'm just doing pricing here. So, the iPhone is $849. Clear this out, $849. Actually, I'll do it on here. You can see it here. The iPhone is $849.99 for this 128 gig times 8.25% for me, $70.12 plus $849. That's $920, $1,000. So let's get over here. Let's get into the calculator here for the Lumia. This is $449 times 8.25%, $37.12 plus $449, $487.11. And let's minus that. Half price, $433 difference. So, overall package, what would I tell a person to buy? If they asked me my opinion, I'd tell them to buy the Nokia Lumia 830. It's half the cost of the iPhone. You're getting a better camera, same battery. You get all the same applications. Pretty much all of them are there. Gamers, you might want to choose the iPhone or a different platform other than Windows, because there are games there. That most of them cost though, and then some of them are on Android. Most of all of them are free on Android. But there are some high-end games here, like Asphalt 8 is there, and that's on all the operating systems. So I would tell a person to pick the Nokia Lumia 830 over the iPhone 6. I've got a removable battery. I've got, I can add an SD card. I've got a better camera. The platform itself looks a heck of a lot better. The sound quality on here is just phenomenal. I can make this phone look different. I can take this off and put a black back on there, orange back, a white back, whatever. There's just a lot more going on with this phone right here than I think with the iPhone. So out of these two devices, I would say get the Lumia 830. So there you have it. My full take battle of the basics. There's really not much more to say. Once again, the Lumia line takes the win over Apple. I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces.